Sometimes life will knock you down harder than you could have imagined. However, the distinction between those who remain trapped and in those that ascend make the choice to always get back up. Every setback teaches you a valuable lesson, and every victory fortifies your fortitude, bravery, and destiny. You will discover how to change your perspective, overcome obstacles, and use every failure as a springboard for success in a matter of seconds. First, the ability to get back up. Failure is not falling. Falling is evidence that you made an effort. Everyone who has accomplished great things has fallen numerous times. There is a straightforward distinction between those who succeed and those who fail. People who are successful don't stay low, they get up. They pick themselves up, they acquire knowledge, they adjust, and they advance with greater strength than before. Consider this. There are two options available to you when you fall. You may just lay there wallowing in self-pity and mentally reliving the era, or you can take a stand, own up to what transpired, and use it as motivation to keep going. Those who never fall are not the strongest. They are the ones who consistently fall and then get back up without losing their will. Everything is defined by this decision. It distinguishes between people who give up on their aspirations and those who succeed. You choose progress over stagnation when you decide to climb. Action is preferable to paralysis. You decide to be strong rather than weak, and you demonstrate to yourself with every ascent that you are stronger than any situation that tries to defeat you. The seed of belief. Why you must start with faith. You learn lessons from falling that you won't learn from achievement. It reveals your blind spots, your limitations, and the areas in which you need to improve. You may turn suffering into advancement when you view every setback as a teaching opportunity rather than a tragedy. You realize that failure is just a part of the process, so you no longer dread it. Without effort, success is meaningless. Without combat, victory is pointless. The number of times you soar above the abyss rather than the height of your ascent indicates the depth of your character. Every leader, every champion, and every individual you look up to has had setbacks. However, they have one thing in common. They refuse to be defined by any fall. They viewed every setback as transient and every challenge as surmountable. What distinguishes the remarkable from the ordinary is that mindset. They realize that while falling happens to everyone, rising is a decision that needs to be made repeatedly until it comes naturally. You already possess the ability to rise. It is independent of your situation, history, or past shortcomings. It is a choice that you make every single time you are on the ground. Whether you will fall is not the question. You will. Whether you will rise is the question. Additionally, you will find a strength within yourself that nothing can break if you make a commitment to getting up each and every time. You will develop the mindset that sees failure as merely feedback on your path to greatness, setbacks as opportunities for comebacks, and hurdles as stepping stones. 2. Failure is transient. Despite the fact that failure is fleeting, don't stay down. Other than your choice to continue, nothing is permanent. Your future is not determined by the instant you fail. What you do next is what makes you unique. At the time, failure feels burdensome. However, time shows that it is only a little part of a much bigger story. Only if you decide to rise can the suffering you endure today turn into wisdom tomorrow. Failure's weight may be debilitating. It rests on your chest, making it difficult to concentrate, to breathe, and to envision a new future. However, this weight is a delusion. Failure is not a permanent punishment. It doesn't leave a lasting impression on your personality. It is only facts about what didn't work, feedback about what needs to be changed, and knowledge about where to concentrate your next efforts. The majority of individuals give up because they think defeat is irreversible. They tell themselves that success is not for them after failing once, twice, or even 3 times. However, this is a falsehood that prevents a great number of people from realizing their full potential. They interpret a brief setback as a long-term issue. For the whole story, they mix up one chapter. They permit a single instance of failure to eclipse a lifetime of potential. Think about the biggest historical accomplishments. Every innovation was preceded by innumerable failures. Before Thomas Edison perfected the light bulb, he made thousands of mistakes. Before KFC was created, Colonel Sanders' recipe was torn down 1,009 times. Since they never failed, none of them were successful. They were successful because they didn't let failure deter them. Remind yourself of this when you fall. It doesn't matter how forcefully you strike the ground. It all comes down to how fast you get back up. Nobody can wait for time to pass. It gets more difficult to get back up the longer you stay down. It's easy to feel sorry for yourself. Excuses start to seem plausible. It gets tempting to give up. However, if you get up right away, ignore yourself, and move forward a single step, you demonstrate to yourself that nothing can hold you back. Only in hindsight does the transient nature of failure become evident. Next year, something that seems like the end of the world now will seem like a small annoyance. What today seems impossible will eventually turn into a triumphant tale. However, activity is necessary for this transition. It requires you to shift your perspective. Restart. Consider and develop not around it, but with strong failure. That rather than running away from it, you learn from it. That you don't use it as an excuse to give up, but rather as motivation. The seeds of future success can be found in every failure. Every setback teaches you something that when put to use makes you stronger and smarter. Perspective is crucial. Examine failure from a temporal perspective. Consider it a transient situation. Think of it as instruction. And observe how what initially appeared to be the end turns into the start of something much bigger than you could have ever dreamed. 3. Using hardship to strengthen one's mind. Your training ground is adversity. Your mind gets unbreakable via trials, just as muscles become stronger through resistance. Every challenge you encounter is a chance to strengthen your mental fortitude. Life is not punishing you when it pulls you down. It's getting you ready for something bigger. Most people attempt to escape the challenges, disappointments, and hurdles that are a part of life's gym. They look for the easiest way out, the most comfortable route, and the least difficult path. However, those who comprehend the actual essence of power are more knowledgeable. They understand that comfort impedes progress. They realize that while hardship creates champions, comfort breeds weakness. Under stress, weak minds crack. When things get tough, they break down. They steer clear of anything that demands work in search of ease. They provide justifications for their inability to proceed. They attribute their internal breakdown to outside forces. Strong brains, meanwhile, embrace obstacles as if they were old friends. They are aware that growth comes at a cost, strife. They don't flee from trouble. They rush in its direction, aware that power they never realized they had can be found on the other side of adversity. Consider your intellect to be a stronghold. You add another line of defense each time you get back up after falling. You strengthen your defenses each time you endure hardship. You gain resilience each time you choose to continue when it would be simpler to stop. You develop a mental toughness that nothing can break over time. You have learned to validate yourself, therefore no insult can harm you. Since you have overcome more, no setback can break you. You have ascended greater mountains, so nothing can stop you. There is discomfort in this process. Developing mental toughness is never easy. It calls for you to accept suffering. Be in the now while experiencing pain. After the fall, rise. Individual strength unleashed to keep going even when your entire being wants to quit. But something miraculous occurs during these times of extreme adversity. You uncover strength reserves you are unaware of. You discover bravery you previously believed was exclusive for others. You get an indestructible resilience. The most successful people are not the ones with the easiest lives. They are the ones who fight the most valiantly and don't give up. They train their minds in the same way that athletes train their bodies, by regular effort, gradual overload, and intentional practice, even when they don't feel like it. They recognize that mental toughness is a skill that is acquired by confronting adversity head-on, rather than a natural talent. Every obstacle you conquer serves as evidence of your strength. Every challenge you overcome demonstrates your strength. You expand your mental toolkit every time you get back up after falling. You develop a history of perseverance that you can rely on in the event of more challenges. You become unbreakable because you develop this mental toughness from experience rather than theory. 4. Gaining knowledge from each failure. Every fall has a lesson to teach. Is that something you're willing to learn? The majority of people fall and instantly attribute their problems to outside forces, poor luck, other people, or uncontrollable events. However, every setback is viewed as feedback by the wise. Their question is, what went wrong? How might I have handled this differently? How can I get better? What do I hope to learn from this experience? What distinguishes individuals who develop from those who stagnate is the ability to learn from mistakes. There is no other way to acquire the wisdom that comes from honestly reflecting on your mistakes and analyzing them. You discover previously unnoticed patterns in your conduct. You uncover vulnerabilities you were unaware of. You reveal the blind spots that have been preventing you from moving forward. And with this understanding, you're more equipped to face the next obstacle. Being brutally honest with oneself is necessary for the process of learning from setbacks. It requires you to put your pride aside and consider your part in what went wrong. There is discomfort in this. Making excuses, pointing fingers, and blaming others is simpler. However, ease does not equate to progress. Easy results in a lot of failures. Developing resilience. Through adversity, what turns failure from a dead end into a detour toward success is the willingness to face your faults in the mirror. Consider two pupils who do not pass the same exam. One student quits the subject completely, claims that the material is too hard, and accuses the teacher of asking unfair questions. Another student thoroughly goes over each error, recognizes any knowledge gaps, asks for assistance when necessary, and improves their study techniques. Who do you believe will be successful in the long run? The person who, instead of avoiding or justifying failure, learns from it. Every successful individual has experienced more failures than the majority of people have attempted. 10,000 efforts were not viewed as failures by Thomas Edison. He considered them to be 10,000 unsuccessful attempts. He got closer to the answer with each setback. Every defeat yielded insightful information that guided his subsequent endeavor. He didn't let his mistakes go unnoticed or feel sorry for himself. He took every lesson to heart, put it into practice, and proceeded with greater wisdom and resolve than before. This strategy necessitates a fundamental change in your perspective on failures. Consider them proof that you're pushing yourself past your comfort zone rather than proof that you're not good enough. Consider them to be redirections rather than obstacles. Consider them preliminary drafts that require editing rather than final judgments. After any setback, the most impactful question you can ask is, what can I learn from this? This straightforward question turns victim into pupil, failure into teacher, and setback into opportunity. It helps you turn your attention from what went wrong to what might work the next time. Additionally, you can make sure that every setback brings you one step closer to your ultimate achievement by consistently applying the lessons you've learned from your mistakes. The fifth is not allowing fear to rule you. It's normal to be afraid. Dread of failing, dread of being judged, and fear of the last words. It's time to face the unknown and your fear of falling short. Everyone goes through these emotions. However, this is the reality that makes all the difference. Fear is only effective if you allow it to dictate how you behave. Those who are fearless are not the most courageous. They are the ones who act despite their dread. Fear speaks falsehoods that pass for the truth. It instantly emerges with its toxic advice as soon as you collapse. Never try again. You will simply fail again. People are making fun of you. This is not your calling. Be careful. Steer clear of danger. Accept less. Although these murmurs seem protective, they are actually harmful. They keep you mired in mediocrity, imprisoned by fictitious threats, and immobilized by potential outcomes that might never come to pass. You give up your potential if you pay attention to the voice of fear. It is the adversary of greatness to exchange progress for comfort, adventure for security, success for safety, and comfort for growth. Progress is hampered by safety. The enemy of dreams is security. You choose a life of regret over one of opportunity when you let fear dictate your choices. However, bravery completely alters the rules. Fearlessness is not the same as courage. It is the choice to proceed in spite of it. You demonstrate that fear cannot rule you each time you get back up after falling. You demonstrate to yourself that you are more powerful than any uncertainty, hesitancy, or concern that seeks to limit you. and dread becomes less powerful over you with every brave deed. What was once frightening becomes controllable. What seemed unachievable at first became doable. Consider fear to be a test of your will. It pushes you to realize how much you desire something. People that genuinely want